Good morning, it's your crazy old coot here. Okay, this is part 2. This is where I show you how to use the programs that I recommended in the other part 1. So you're going to need CPU ID HW monitor, okay? That's going to give you your numbers. That's going to give you your voltages. That's going to give you your temperatures. That's going to give you your amperage. That's going to give you your wattage. So you know what's going on in your CPU and system. Okay? You're going to want Ryzen Master. Okay? That's a way to make changes with your BIOS without going into your BIOS. So for people who are afraid to get into the BIOS, this is one way you can go about it. And I use Cinebench R15, and I use 3D Mark Time Spy. Okay, so 3D Mark Time Spy is it's just a benchmark program. You can use a different one, but it's just something to stress your system. Okay? Another note, I just noticed I keep going back and checking these things. The AB350M Pro4 motherboard has a new BIOS update. It's BIOS 4.70. If you're having issues, I highly recommend you go update to that. But again, you have to do 3.40 first. And if you're having issues, I would re-download 3.40 first, install that, and then install the 4.70. Now, if you need to know how to do that, I did a video a couple weeks ago that show you exactly how to go about doing that. Okay? The last thing, this is what was been puzzling me about this whole issue. This motherboard, the AB350M Pro4 motherboard, has had a lot of unboxing and quick show reviews and from a lot of different people on YouTube, and I'm assuming that they've all used this board, and it seems like none of them, including myself, have had issues. That's not saying it's not real. It could very well be a board. I mean, there's no board that never has issues, okay? There isn't. You go anywhere and you'll always see one reviews where dead on arrival, or it's impossible to build something with 0 defects. Okay, that said, Billzoid over at Actual Hardcore Overclocking, that review that I recommended you everybody go look and see, I had watched that. In fact, I've watched it a couple of times. And then, what I came down with my Danger Will Robinson, it got really hot, but it also, the voltages were really high. But you see, people like me who've built a lot of systems, we know what to do when we see something. We say, oh, that's out of line, we got to fix that. And so they fix it without knowing it. Where somebody who this may be their first build, they haven't got a freaking clue, So this is why I've done this video. This shows you how to monitor your newly built computer, okay? So you can see where things go wrong, okay? That covers everything on my notes, so let's get on with the show. You need to know how to make those changes I talked about, okay? There's 2 ways you can go about it. You can use Ryzen Master, which you can do right here in Windows. and or you can do it in the BIOS. Okay, so I'm going to show you. You got to go get Ryzen Master and load it onto your computer if you don't have it already. Okay, so here's Ryzen Master. It's going to ask you, do you want to let this thing make changes? Okay, you say yes, and again it says, hey, you can really screw your computer up. Okay, and this is the screen you come up with. Okay, so this shows you that we're at 3.8 on all cores. Okay, that the CPU voltage right now is set for 1.3375. Okay. So, and if you're gonna make changes, and here's your SoC voltage, and that's I've got this one set at 1.25. Okay. So now down here in the bottom, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can have like 4 different setups. Okay. Profiles. So let's just go on one. Actually, is it one? Okay. Here's 2. So this one I boosted it up to 3.9. Okay. So here's where you set your CPU voltage. So to change, so let's go. To change your frequency, you move this, just move the slider up and down. Okay. And you can fine tweak it with these arrows. Okay. And here you can disable 2 cores or 4 cores if you just want to try. So if I wanted to pretend that this was a 4 core, I could go, and that would turn off 2 of the cores. Or if I could make it a 2 core, I could click that. But we don't want to do that. Okay, to change your voltage, you can bump this up. Okay, so you really, on the AB350M Pro4 board, you do not want to go above 1.40 volts, preferably less. Okay, so I'm going to move this down to 3.4. Okay, this is your memory voltage. We talked about that, and I said standard is 1.35 volts unless you're gonna overclock it. Okay, this has to do with 1s and 0s, so don't want to mess with that. And here again is your SoC, and this one is set for 1.1, and we said we want to go 1.2. Okay. And here is if you want to adjust your memory speed. I got this at 2933, which is, you take this number and double it if that's what you want to find out your speed is. This is supposedly 3200, but it won't run at 3200. This is why I say you got to make sure your memory's not your problem. Okay? Because with Ryzen, some memories work better than others. So you always want to start low and then work your memory speed up. So that's why I was saying this can be one of your problems, or this could be one of your problems. You're either pushing too much current through your CPU cores, or your memory is too fast and you're right on the edge. Because when you're overclocking memory, you bump it up, you make your changes, and then you run some tests. If it fails the test, like I have one where it would actually go through Cinebench, it would go through TimeSpy, but when I did Rise of the Tomb Raider bench test, it would fail Geothermal Valley. Like, wow, that's strange. And we had to make some adjustments to make it work. So the first thing I would do would be take this down to 1200, And you know, like you say, in your memory voltage at 1.3, and it won't even let you change it. And then you hit apply. Okay, but I don't want to change my memory. Now you hit apply. Okay, and then okay, so it's gonna tell you to go and do a restart. And you hit OK. And super secret password. Okay, so it's going to come up and it should say, do you want to allow this? Because it's going to open the app up again. And again, you hit OK. And you're again on C, but you see now we're at 39. We're at 3.43. We're at 1.2. And to see if this is stable, first thing we want to do is double check, because this is considered the gold standard. Okay. And the CPU is at 3.892, so yeah. So we're at 3.9. And the core voltage is here. So this looks good. The memory is good here. Okay. So now we're going to open hardware monitor. Okay, so this is going to tell us, don't worry about this stuff. What's going on? Okay, so the quick test is Cinebench. Okay, so open up Cinebench and we can minimize it so we can actually get both here at the same time, so we can actually see what's going on as it happens. Okay, and we hit run and it does its thing. Okay, so right here we're pretty stable. Okay, we're done. Then we drew 6.43 amps. Okay, and that's on 6 cores. We averaged about 13, a little over 13 watts per core for 78 watts. And this is why I was telling you earlier, if you add 2 more cores here, that's going to push this 26. That's going to get you over 100 watts at 3.9 at 1.344 volts. Okay? Just saying. So the next test, we don't want you to save that. Again, if you're going to do another test, you should. And we'll probably do Time Spy. Okay. Okay, so you can actually do more tests and details, so we can shut off the demo Because we're really only interested, we're going to do a custom run. We're only really interested in the CPU test. Okay? And we're going to hit run. Then we crashed it. Voltages were too low. So we go here. You go to CPU monitor. Okay, we hit 1.36. 1.34. 96 watts, 65 amps, but we were not pushing enough voltage here. Okay, just showing you it worked. I mean, Cinebench worked, but another test didn't. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you go into do it in BIOS. So you're going to do a restart. And you start hitting the F2 key. Okay, now we're in BIOS, okay? So where all your changes are going to be done in here in OC Tweaker, okay? And this BIOS is for the X370, but the B350 BIOS is basically the same. A couple of things different. Okay, so I had this all set up. So here's where you set your frequency. Here's where you set your voltage, okay? So if you go 1.375, okay. That's too high. That's right. It's 1.3375. Okay. So here's where you set your frequency. Here's where you set your voltage. Okay. Here, this would be an auto. And here's the problem that you're going to see. When you're in load XM, if this is in auto, it's going to load what's the memory is set for. So if it's a stick of 3200 memory, DDR4 memory, and you got it in your motherboard, it's going to try to run it at 3200. And some do and some don't. Okay? So what you end up having to do is you go here to change it. XMP 2.0 profile. You see it came up with 3200 because that's what it is. But this one won't run at 3200. I can get it, if I played with it, I probably could get it to run at 3066. But I know 2933 works great. I mean, because I've played with this. So if you're having freezes, you want this as low as you can go, okay? Now, if you want to mess with your timings, you go into here. Play with this only if you kind of know what you're doing. Like you're going to overclock your memory, because then you want to increase these numbers, these timing numbers. Mm-hmm. guess now this you don't have. This is a CPU load line calibration. The B350 boards don't have it. I use level 3. And okay, so this is fixed on the B350 boards. And here is where your SoC voltage is set. Okay, so if you put this in auto, it's an auto, but if you go fixed, you want it at 1.2, not 1.1. And again, you got, this has got line load calibration for the SoC. The B350 boards do not, or at least most of them do not. Okay. So here is where you set your Dram voltage, 1.35. If you're unstable and you think it might be your memory, you may want to bump that up. You can go up to 1.4 with no problem. Once you start getting above 1.4, you're whatever. And so that's pretty much all that I play with. Okay. So we're going to, then you go over here to exit. Oh, there's one other thing that you can do. Okay, that can save you a lot of issues. Okay. Here it says save user default. User profile. And what I usually do is write down 3.8, which is what the CPU frequency is, and the speed of my memory. Okay, so I know that this is a profile for 3.8 gigahertz at 2933. 33. Oops. Okay, and you hit enter. So now, if you play with something and you want to go back to that, you load user's default, you pick it up, you load it, and it's been restored. Okay? That'll just save you some headaches if you're going in here and messing around. Here, exit. Save changes and exit. Save configuration. Boom, we're done. We're rebooting. Okay, we're gonna need that. So we'll fire up CPU hardware monitor. And we'll do the quick Cinebench test. Okay, Cinebench made it. No. So what do we got here? Okay, max is 1.37, 1.38 there. Okay. 1600 shows it at one, right again, really tight. The package power hit 102 watts. Again, we're pulling around 13, a little less, and 65.47 amps. Okay. And again, you add 26 to this, and that's going to get you to, or let's see, that would be 11, 1, 2, that would give you 91 amps. Okay, if this was set up this way with an 8 core. So this is why I'm saying this voltage is, if you bump this voltage up, this current's going to go up, and your power is going to go up, and your VRMs can start overheating. Okay, so we're at 3.8 gigahertz. Okay, so now can we do time spy? Okay, so we're going to run time spy here, just the CPU test. And we've completed the run. Okay, so what do we got here? Okay. The board says this. Okay, Ryzen 1600. 1.38, which is about where I had it set for. 90 watts. We're only pushing about 11. And so we've got like 63.41 watts, and we're pulling only 61.3 amps. So that's just the minor changes that I did. And I've dropped it, you know, like 4 watts. So, yeah, you can, 4 amps. So you can make changes to reduce this number. But if this was a 8 core and we're doing the same thing, we're going to have like 22 more amps. So that's going to put it up to 85 amps or 83 amps. Now you're starting to get up there. So you got to keep your voltages in check. Okay, because there's a lot of difference between 1.34 and 1.4. Okay. So this is basically, if you can run Cinebench and you can run Time Spy, you're pretty stable. Okay. I would continue to run a few more tests just to make sure, and then make minor adjustments. But you're in the ballpark now. If you can run Cinebench and you can run Time Spy, you're in the ballpark. Like I said, you know, sometimes something weird's come up and you're gonna say, "Oh wow, man!" So you got to go back and look at it and make some minor tweaks. But for the most part, if it can run Cinebench and it can run Time Spy, you're good to go. Okay? So if you're having instability problems with your AB350M Pro4 board, you want to get CPU ID hardware monitor program, so you can run up and watch what's going on. You want to make sure your voltages are under control. under 1.4 volts for sure. If you're having stability problems, you want to eliminate your memory, so you want to run that at 2400. You have your voltages under control, and you know you're not over driving your VRMs, and your 2400 memory is still crashing. Okay, now with those two things eliminated, just to be safe, I'd get a mem tester and run your memory, because a bad piece of memory can do weird things. So, and that should prove without a doubt that your memory is stable and good. CPU at a low enough clock so it should not be crashing your system. Then you can blame the motherboard. Okay? So, this is your crazy old coot wishing you a good evening.